Okay.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our webinar, Gelato Means Business, Unlock New Profits and Elevate Your Menu. So my name is Flavia Morelli. I am the Group Exhibition Manager of the Food and Beverage Division at Italian Exhibition Group. Just a few words about our company. We are a leading company in the trade show and event industry. We organize exhibitions and congresses in Italy and all around the world. And as I think that most of you know, CIGE World is one of our flagship events. So the webinar of today is an important step on the road to CIGE World 2026, our 47th edition of the World Expo for Food Service Excellence. And you know that operators, suppliers, innovators from all over the world come together to Rimini to explore technologies, ingredients, and future trends for gelato, pastry, coffee, bakery, and pizza. And just to share with you some numbers, last edition, we welcomed 200,000 attendees from 180 countries. And so these numbers confirm the role of CIGE as a global hub for the food service community. And if we look ahead to the next edition, 2026, I can share with you the number of the exhibiting companies. We will welcome 1,300 exhibitors from 35 countries, and they will offer a comprehensive showcase of innovations across the entire supply chain, from ingredients to equipment, technology, formats, and services. And another highlight I would like to share with you about the upcoming edition is our 2026 guest country. It will be India. We started last year with Saudi Arabia, but next year we will welcome a high-profile delegation of Indian buyers, since India represents a fast-growing market in food service and hospitality industry. So their presence will bring new perspectives and trends and business opportunities to the global community gathering in Rimini next January. And then another news, to make your visit even easier, we are pleased to announce that we have organized new direct flight connections to Rimini with a route from Munich, Rimini, and from Spain, Madrid, Rimini. And so certainly this will offer you a faster and more convenient access to our show. So please take note about the date of our CIGE World 2026 from Friday the 16th to the 20th. This is another novelty. The trade show, in fact, will open on Friday instead of the traditional Saturday. So Friday is the first opening day. And well, let's now dive into the webinar of today, which is dedicated to a powerful idea. Adding gelato to your offer isn't just a trend, it's a strategic business opportunity. And we know that around the world, certainly you represent a good representation of these top food service operators, restaurants, cafes, hotels, multi-unit chains are introducing gelato not only as a dessert, but as a strategic lever. And I'm sure that many of you in this audience are proving this every day and showing how gelato can truly elevate a menu and boost performance. So introducing gelato is a way to certainly boost revenues, differentiate your menu, and attract new audiences and elevate the overall guest experience. So this webinar is designed specifically to help you explore global trends shaping the gelato business, practical business models adaptable to different venues, and knowing also different gelato formats. And we will do that with three outstanding speakers. I would like to introduce you Matteo Figura, Head of Foodservice Italy at CIRCANA, Fabio Chiarabini. He's the General Manager of Leagel and member of the Italian Association of the Manufacturers of Ingredients for Gelato, and Michele Batian. He is part of the company Telme, manufacturer of gelato machines, and he is also president of ACOMAG, which is the Italian Association of Gelato Machines, Furnishings, and Equipment Manufacturers. So each of them represents one of the pillars that make the gelato business so rich in opportunity. So the market, the product, and the technology. So to start our discussion, let's first look at the market forces that are shaping this dynamic sector. So I will start with you, Matteo. As I said, Matteo Figura is head of food service Italy at CIRCANA. CIRCANA is an American-based company, but with subsidiaries all around the world, in Europe and in Italy as well. And it's a global leader in market data and consumer insights. And they provide reliable analysis on food service trends and spending and customer behavior across Europe and worldwide. So, Matteo, the question for you is, based on your research and global observations, what is the current scenario in Europe when it comes to gelato consumption out of home and specifically among chain operators? I think that you're mute, Matteo.
Hi, Flavia. And
okay.
Thank you for inviting me on this webinar. And thank you for the question. This gives me the chance to share some data that, as you have said, we do track with our CREST service worldwide. We currently track consumer behavior in 12 countries over the world, and we are going to show to you and to the audience some of our data that shows over the next 10 minutes how the market is developing in food service in the 5 European countries, and also what is, according to our data, the opportunity when we look at the gelato business, specifically within chain operators in this case. We are looking now into data that takes into consideration a broader view of the product category. We used to call this ice cream and frozen desserts. Inside there is also, and it includes also, the so-called gelato, or the artisan ice cream, as you use to call it, which is part of the category that we are seeing right now. So first of all, how is the market performing? If we look at the 5 big European countries where we do track the consumer behavior, we see that in the first 6 months of this year, the market has grown in terms of consumer spend. Not equal in all the countries. We have Great Britain performing with a 3.3% growth compared to the same period of the last year, while other countries are lagging a little bit behind that. This growth, this spending growth, is mainly driven by inflation rate and by the increase of the prices in the food service. We are observing this phenomenon since a couple of years right now, where after the pandemic, basically the spend and the prices of the food service have increased. What has happened over the past years is that the consumers has at the beginning accepted this price increase, but now over time is getting more rational and is selecting more cautiously all the visits and the attempts it does out of home. So if we look at the same picture by visits, meaning consumers visiting out of home locations, we see that the scenarios looks quite different. We are registering a flat market in many countries, and some countries are even negative, even in Great Britain, for example, where we saw a big growth in terms of spend, meaning that consumers try to keep their overall spending somehow stable out of home. The amount that consumers spend on a monthly basis, and we got this data from our sentiment studies, tend to remain the same. They don't want to renounce that. Still they have to face with a situation that shows the pricing increasing, not only in, let's say, our industry, but across all the industries that basically the consumers have and need to buy from every day. Having said that, the market is not performing equally across all the levels. We used to look at market channels. As you can see here, the areas with the higher average eater check, for example, the full service restaurants, they are suffering more. So meaning that the area with lower eater check, or let's say the ones where the incidence or share of organized and branded operators is higher, such as QSR, for example, or the quick service restaurants, they are performing flat or better than the full service restaurants. There is a phenomenon within the QSR, which is included herein, is the retail part of the business that shows a kind of response to the need of consumers of more convenience and affordable prices as well. Prices are for sure one of the things that do consumers look at when eating or drinking out of home, but not only. There are also other motivations driving the consumers, where consumers pay attention at, like all what is somehow related to the experience. So meaning looking for products, looking for service, but looking also for healthy and lighty products. The idea of quality is certainly included within here. So not only prices, but also experience is one of the drivers still, even in these tough times from the consumer point of view. When we specifically look into the chains within the market, we see that basically the market, the share of basically the share of the chain-based visits among the spend of the share of the spend among the out-of-home market has grown massively over the past years. So now across the 5 countries, almost 47% of spends of consumers goes into the so-called branded market, whatever is basically recognized by the consumer of being part of a network or part of a brand. For sure, within the year, we have the big multinational chains, but we also have locals and smaller chains that are part of this business. However, we have a scenario, as we said, where the market is basically flat or not growing as much as we would like in terms of visits, but within that, there is certainly a healthy part, which is the brand part of the market, meaning the chain operators. Across the 5 big countries over the past year, there have been sold 2.3 billion of frozen dessert, gelato, or ice creams, basically, which is a huge amount across Europe. And the amount of these servings is growing compared to past year by 1.6%, which means that is over-indexing the growth of the market. So again, here we have a market which is flat in terms of visits, but the consumption of ice cream is growing within even a market that is not growing in terms of visits. And this is certainly another good news that we can add in the opportunity of the ice cream, of the gelato consumption. When we specifically look then into chains, we see that across Europe, more than half of the servings that are sold are falling into the chain business. And this part is the most healthy one, while the independents are lacking back, so they are registering a negative or flat trend of servings, of gelato servings sold within the independent market. Within the chain business, this part is quite healthy. It's growing by 3.3%. So again, here we have another basically good news for the gelato business, because inside the chains, this part is basically growing. We do ask our consumers what is the reason why they have visited a specific place. And here in this data, we are going to compare all the visits with an ice cream and the visit without an ice cream. As you can see, whenever the consumer has consumed an ice cream or a dessert, frozen dessert category, because we are looking into this large category right now, basically there are some items that are over-indexing, the ones that are not consuming the ice cream when it comes to the reason why. So the reason why is food related, and within that, quality and variety of food is one of the things. There is the kids' decision. There is also the atmosphere and the place, and last but not least, also the loyalty component. So whenever basically an ice cream is consumed within a chain, the consumer has a better perception of his own experience, and the perception is sometimes so good that also leads to a higher loyalty rate. We have this into more detail because we ask consumers if they would like to come back to the place they've just visited when they respond to our questionnaires. And the ones that have consumed an ice cream within their visits, they are somehow more certain. The percentage of the ones that say, I will definitely come back, is higher than the ones that have not chosen to eat an ice cream or a gelato. And last but not least, there is certainly another good news from the business point of view, because if we compare the average eater check of the visits with or without the ice cream, and we compare this among independent and the chain operator, we see that for sure when there is an ice cream, the average eater check is higher, so it brings more business and more money to the operators, whether it's independent or if it's a chain. But it is even more higher when we look into chains, meaning that differently than independents, where the gelato is mostly substituting an existing item of the menu, within the chain, it's more often happens to be an additional item to the menu. So de facto, it increases the average number of items and therefore also enriches the amount of business and revenue they take home. So as a key takeaways, back to the questions you've made, Flavia, for sure, the ice cream and the gelato business is an opportunity among the chains, because not only it makes increase the average eater check and brings basically more, let's say, revenue opportunity, but it also provides a greater experience perception among consumers that will certainly also lead to a higher loyalty rate and return rate. And in a market where we have seen that the visits are basically flat and not growing, retaining the own base of customers is a key in order to have a competitive advantage against others.
So thank you, Matteo. Your data are really very interesting. I mean, and thank you for sharing these valuable insights. I think that also your focus on chains is quite interesting, and certainly it can be very inspiring also for the audience that is following our webinar. So now we have explored the market perspective, so with the data and the insights of Matteo, let's now move to the heart of our topic, so the product itself. So I now address to Fabio. As I said, Fabio Chiarabini is the general manager of Leagel, an Italian company based here close to Rimini, where CIGEP is held. And they manufacture ingredients for gelato. And Fabio is also is a member of the Italian Association of Gelato Ingredients Manufacturers. So the question for you, Fabio, is because I think that many of our attendees may still be discovering gelato for the very first time. So how would you describe the unique identity of gelato, and what truly distinguishes artisanal gelato from other frozen desserts?
Hi, Flavia, and good evening or good morning to everyone. What's gelato? We would like to describe gelato as the Italian artisanal frozen dessert with more flavor, more body, less fat than the American ice cream, fresh made by a gelato chef. It's something that we call it in Italian language gelato artisanale. When we say gelato artisanale, we mean something more than just a frozen dessert. It's similar to ice cream, but it has its own identity and tradition. In Italy, gelato is loved by everyone. It's part of our culture, popular across Europe, and now enjoyed all over the world. And why it's so special? Let me tell you that the artisanal gelato is not just a food, it's a way of, let's say, thinking. It's made with fresh, high-quality ingredients and special machines designed for this purpose. And I would like to share with you some thought about how the gelato is so unique. Gelato has many flavors. Almost any ingredients can be turned into a gelato flavor. Gelato is better for you and is made with natural ingredients. Gelato can be part of a balanced diet. It gives you proteins, vitamins, minerals, and even antioxidants. Gelato's its peculiarity is to be smooth and creamy. The right mix of air and ingredients makes gelato smooth and creamy with an amazing taste. Now we can talk about the ingredients of the gelato. When we talk about the ingredients that define artisanal gelato, we can mention their ingredients and sugars. They give structure, providing consistency, sweetness, and softness. There are also emulsifiers and stabilizers that help different ingredients to stay together, especially the fat and the water compounds, and ensure a smooth, airy, and creamy texture. And there are also the flavor ingredients, or that they are all the elements that give gelato its taste, such as cocoa, fruit, yogurt, hazelnuts, pistachios, caramel, and more. And finally, in this list, you can see the easy-to-use compounds. That it means a range of ready-to-use preparation offered by Italian companies that help the gelato makers work with ingredients more efficiently. An example is the hazelnut paste, which is a preparation. It starts from raw hazelnuts, which are roasted and then refined into a liquid paste that blends better with other ingredients, creating a richer and more flavorful hazelnut gelato. Now, next slide, we can talk about the production process. The production process follows a few key steps. First, we prepare the liquid mix by combining all the structural ingredients and pasteurizing them. This ensures the mix is smooth, homogeneous, and safe. Next, the mix rests for a few hours at about 4 degrees. This step is important because it allows the mix to mature, which gives the gelato a better texture later on. After that, we add the flavor ingredients and start the churning process. The batch machine transforms the mix from liquid into a creamy, dense texture, bringing the temperature down to around -7 or -9 degrees. Finally, to keep the gelato fresh and ready for sale, it must be stored in a display cases at the temperature between -12 and -17. I would like to highlight the differences between the artisanal gelato and the industrial. In the next slide, here you can see some differences between the two products, especially for the percentage of the air inside, which is less in the artisanal gelato and more than double in the industrial ice cream. The differences are also for the fat content and the temperature. The fat content you can see less in the artisanal gelato and high in the fat content in the ice cream. The temperature should be around -12 degrees and for the artisanal gelato, and around -18 degrees for the industrial ice cream. Another difference comes from the equipment. If you want to make industrial ice cream, you have to use the frozen continuous machinery, which is an industrial machinery. For the artisanal gelato, you have to use the batch machinery, different technology. Talking about the gelato, we can mention on the next slide some friend of the gelato. I mean, some other similar products under the gelato family, and that in some case you can see on the menu. So beside the gelato, the artisanal gelato, you can see the soft gelato or soft espresso gelato, which is a way to enjoy freshly made gelato using soft serve machinery. Similar is the frozen yogurt. It's using the same technology, I mean the same soft serve machinery, but in the recipe you should use at least 20% of yogurt. Another product is the shake, really common in some countries. It's made by blending gelato with milk, and it's a way to enjoy gelato as a drink. And the last one, it's similar, but it's pretty different in terms of structure and performance of the taste. We are talking about the slash, and it's ice plus fruit, and it helps the consumers to cool down, especially when there is a warm temperature in the summer.
Okay, thank you, Fabio. You really gave us a very deep description about gelato and why it's so distinctive and authentic as a product which is very iconic for Italy and which is expanding all over the world. I see that we have already some questions, but I will keep the questions for the end of our presentation. So, well, now let's look at the business side. So now I will turn to Michele Bartian. As I said, Michele is part of the company Telme, which is an Italian company manufacturing gelato machines. And Michele is also the president of ACOMAG, the Italian Association of the Manufacturers of Gelato Machines and Display Cabinets for Gelato. So certainly, Michele, you work closely with operators who want to introduce gelato into their offer. So from your experience, how can adding gelato help increase revenues and enrich the overall food offering across different types of venues?
Flavia, hi. Thanks for your kind invitation.
You're welcome.
Good evening or good morning to all participants. So let's say that from my experience in the business, which is quite varied, I should say along at least around 3 continents, I always learned a big focus on gelato. It has always 4 major advantages. It may represent a quick service, first of all, which does not mean something simple, because it needs a certain preparation, but time of service is regularly fast. And what I want to say with fast, I mean you can get good revenues in a short time, and that's a big advantage. As second advantage, I like to say it covers in many situations empty hours of the day of different businesses. Very important is margin is high. I mean, food cost is low, and let's say it can stay between 15 and 25% as food cost, depending on flavors, depending of type of products, and also areas of the world. And last but not least, it's always good as taste, and it may be also healthy. We can, for example, have a wide variety with regular flavors, and we can get also many options, for example, for different target of customers. We can think about low sugars solutions. We can think about flavors without milk, let's say dairy-free products. We can think also at gluten-free products. And in the next slides, we can see together what I just said just 1 minute before. For example, cafes and bakeries, as well like pastry shops, can represent a solution where gelato is really a quick service, and it may cover empty hours of the day. We have a nice example from France, where many bakeries stores in the last, let's say, 5-10 years, they began also to offer gelato, because they majorly were selling bread and similar stuff during the morning, but then in the afternoon they got a huge drop of the sales, and they decided to introduce some pastry options, but above all gelato options. And they got a combination of products that allowed the owners to get a wider day of business, increasing a lot their revenues. If we go to the next slide and we talk of restaurants, of hotels, we can think time of serving of restaurants is mainly focused on lunch and dinner. Some places they are offering also breakfast, but many hours of the afternoon are empty. And we have a nice example of a huge chain which started like 40 years ago, more or less, in Colombia. They have now more than 100 stores, not only in Colombia, also around other countries, where two people began with one restaurant, and then during the time they got the idea to introduce gelato, because they were staying many hours without doing nothing. And they moved from one store to 120 stores. And one of the best example of Colombia business with food and offer of restaurants and similars. So in the same way, if we switch to the next slide and we talk about quick service, obviously US is the top country for these solutions, and it's plenty of examples of chains where we can see the offer of different products like soft serves, shakes, slush, and frozen yogurt, where, let's say, under the common name of gelato, the service is easy, it's quick, and it allows to get a higher ticket for any customer. Obviously, gelato is also good for, in the next slide, for any leisure and entertainment, situation, like parks, resorts, and cruises. And for all the family, gelato, it's good because it's good at any age. I remember one sentence that a man told me one time, and it's, gelato always gives you a smile. And it's true. You can get a gelato once you are 2 years old or once you are 85 years old. So there's no limit for to get a gelato. It's always easy to grab, and it's always a nice temptation. If we see to the next slide, we can also remember that food trucks are a nice solution for gelato in many different of service, because it allows a quick preparation and a wide choice to customize the product. And all is done in a, let's say, everything is made in a compact solution, because the industry can offer also a solution of compact equipments for artisanal gelato, or also for soft serve, or for frozen yogurt. So we do not have any limit in with the offering of gelato. Let's say that we can finish going to the next slide and remembering again that implementation is really possible with almost any format, and it allows solution for different budgets. We can go from a minimum of $10,000 up to, obviously no limits, but let's say $100,000. And we can get small corners, we can get self-service solution, we can get takeaway solution, and we can get also production in dark kitchens just for external sales. So gelato is good and possible for all targets. If we go to a economic analysis in the last slide, we can see the food cost of the product, as I said before, can stay between 15 and 25%. In my opinion, the average is between 15 and 20% around the world. Obviously, again, it depends areas of the world, availability of ingredients, and other, let's say, local details that can influence the cost of the ingredients. But margin of gelato is always high. You need to sell a certain number of portions to pay back the investment, but after that amount, earnings are really interesting, and that's the most important detail to consider adding gelato in your own business. It's something really smart.
Thank you, Michele. Certainly you gave us such a big overview about, I mean, the many ways gelato can be integrated into different business models. And it's also interesting that adding gelato can cover empty hours during the day. So I see that, I mean, what you said, and also Fabio, Matteo, I mean, is attracting also the interest of the audience. We have already some questions talking about, for example, different places and venues where gelato can be added. We have a question from Orlando, from Florida, from an amusement park, from SeaWorld. And we have a question from Lucella Negrucci, who I think is of Italian origin. And she wrote, I'm from SeaWorld Orlando, and I'm curious about how you plan to manage the United States market, especially since gelato involves several steps like the mix, training, equipment. Who of you, Fabio or Michele would like to answer to Lucellina.
If you want, just a few words about the as part of the association, it's our goal to let's say conquer a market together. I mean, the question is really interesting because arise one of the most sensitive point that it's a kind of business that needs many different companies get together, stay together, because you cannot do gelato, you cannot make gelato with only ingredients or with only the machinery. It needs you need some ingredients, machinery, training, so and also a place like a fair where you can meet other or supplier and do business. So many kind of let's say elements that you need, and by the association we organize the things in order to be ready with a specific market as US is. I don't know if Michele, you would like to add something.
Yeah, you said all good things, and I can add only that most of the Italian companies, both from ingredient side and also from equipment side, are attending the most important shows in the US. Somebody with in a direct way, and somebody through an importer or distributor. So I should say it is at least 20 years we are all present in US. We understand there are different rules from Europe, specifically on some details regarding on how to prepare the mix and the final gelato. But we're ready with machines that can follow all US approvals, and also with right preparation that are allowed in United States, respecting all the rules.
So thank you, Fabio. Thank you, Michele. I can add also something about United States market, because of course the biggest offer and showcase about ingredients, machines, and can be found in Rimini next January. But our CIGE will debut also in Las Vegas next March, and we will be together with the International Pizza Expo in Las Vegas from the 24th till the 26th of March, and we will have certainly a smaller showcase, but anyway it's a first debut in the American market. And so also for our friend from Orlando, that will be another opportunity to meet Italian companies of the gelato industry. But certainly in Rimini you will find the biggest offer in the world. So thank you for this question from Orlando. Then I see that we have other questions. This is about the prices. The question is, are the prices for gelato implementation calculated for offering only and not producing it?
No, it's also consider production, obviously depending on the size, because our market from equipment can offer also small solution, which are quite affordable. And let's say we can start with a minimum budget of between $12,000 and $14,000 to produce in a small scale artisanal gelato. And obviously we can go higher from there.
Yeah, of course. Okay, Thank you, Michele. Another question. Can you share some information about purchasing display cases for our gelato? This is a question from Denise.
Information about the cases.
About purchasing display cases for our gelato, but I think that the best way is to come to Rimini next January, and you will find the largest showcase of display cabinets for gelato. You will have all the biggest offer of leading Italian companies offering this kind of product. So, and you will see all the novelties about display cases. So if you have the chance, Dennis, and organize your trip to Rimini next January, that would be really an extraordinary opportunity if you are in the phase of purchasing display cases for gelato.
However, our association has a website, which is www.acomag.it, and you can write an email and we can get you all the contacts of all manufacturers related to display cabinets.
I see that, I mean, the topic we are touching is really very inspiring for our audience. Another question is on Mr. Bartian's economy analysis slide. So, Michele, what you showed before, what does corner mean in green?
Corner, we imagine a small area inside an existing business, taking only few square meters, where you can add your gelato area, where you can sell your final product, and like recreating a small gelato store inside your business.
Okay, then I think these are the question. I think that we answered all the question. Okay. Yeah, they asked to repeat the address again for the website of ACOMAG, because the right spelling is ACOM.
Sorry. Yes, of course.
ACOMAG. ACOMAG, ACOMAG. But anyway, we will answer everyone. So thank you for the participation to the webinar, and we will write down for you, so you will find it also in our answer.
I can say it again, ACOMAG.it. Sorry.
We can put it on the chat if you want.
Denise write also that they can arrange the trip to Italy next January, but plan to go to Vegas in March.
More than welcome.
So we will welcome you in Italy in January and in Vegas next month. So we are really pleased to hear that. So okay, so thank you really for joining us today. For really the great attention that you have shown us, and I think that the topics is very interesting, and well, we really hope that this webinar has offered you new insights, practical ideas, and a clear understanding of how gelato can become a real business opportunity. So really a strategic tool to elevate your menu and attract new customers. So today's conversation is just the beginning. It's just a preview of what will happen in Rimini next January. And so the real experience awaits you at CIGE World 2026. And here in Rimini, because I'm here in Rimini now, you will really have the opportunity to meet leading international suppliers of ingredients and equipment. And with Michele and Fabio today, you just had the preview. As I said, you will discover new gelato formats, solutions, business models, and you will certainly explore innovations across gelato. CIGE is not only gelato, which is certainly the core sector, but you will discover also the innovations about pastry, bakery, coffee, and pizza. So you will have the chance to connect with thousands of key players from around the world, and you will join our community of food service excellence. So I really thank you again. We look forward to welcoming you in Rimini next January. Remember, from Friday the 16th of January to Tuesday the 25th. And thank you once again for being with us today. Have a wonderful day and see you soon in Rimini.
Grazie. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.